In this video, I want to talk about the importance of supply and demand and how it can help you as a business owner to price your products at a higher price. And it all comes down to understanding how supply and demand work and how you can use it in your business to effectively increase the demand for your products through various ways that we'll be discussing in today's video. So stay tuned, because after this video, you'll have a better understanding on how to effectively increase your prices as well as your sales. But before we get into how we'll increase the demand for your products, we need to talk about the supply first. And I'm going to use the law of supply to do just that. What the law states is that the supply is directly proportional to the price, which in common terms means that as you increase the price, you make more supply because you are more likely to make more profits by selling it. Whereas if you decrease the price for your product and you price it cheaply, then you tone down the supply since you're not really sure whether you're going to make profit at all by selling this cheap item. Okay, let's take an example. Suppose that you have a new product. At first, since you're really not sure whether it's going to sell or not, you make it in less amounts and you price it at a cheaper price. But as you see that people like your product and are buying it like crazy, then you start making more of that product and you increase the price for that product. By doing this, you'll see that you are making more profit, and so you'll naturally want to make more supply. But since life is not all rainbows and sunshine, so in reality it is not this smooth. And there's a second factor that needs to be considered before we move on ahead, and that factor is demand. Okay, now since we've gotten the basics of supply, we can now talk about demand. And I'm going to use the law of demand to explain it. What the law states is that demand is inversely proportional to the price, which means that as the price for the product increases, the demand for that product decreases. And as the price for that product decreases, the demand for that product increases. Which basically means that if your product is priced at an expensive price, then less people are going to buy it. And if your product is priced at a cheaper price, then more people are going to buy it. Okay, let's take an example. Let's say that you have a product which is currently at an expensive price. You are going to notice that less people are buying it and you have low demand for that product. But as soon as there's an offer, a discount, or a decrease in price on that product, you are going to see that more people are buying it and you have a relatively higher demand for that product. Okay, I want you to notice something. The only thing that led to this change and to this increase in demand was the price. And so this proves the law right. That is, demand is related to the price, and that too, it is inversely related to the price. As the price increases, the demand decreases, and as the price decreases, the demand increases. But still, this does not explain how we can price our products at a higher price, since we've just covered supply and demand individually. In the next section, we'll combine supply and demand together, and we'll talk about the supply and demand curve and how it can help you price your products at a higher price. At this point, since we've learned about the supply curve and the demand curve, it is time to put the two together and create what is called the supply and demand curve. This curve or law is the basic theory on how you can determine prices for your products on the basis of the relationship between supply and demand. So what this law states, or what this law tells us, is that if the supply were to exceed the demand, then the price for the product will decrease or it will fall down. And if the demand were to exceed the supply, then the price will increase. The point where the supply curve and the demand curve intersect is called the point of equilibrium. At this point, the supply equals the demand and the price for your product becomes stable. You can move this point up or down by shifting the supply curve or the demand curve or both. We can see that if we move or shift the supply curve to the left, the point moves up, whereas if we shift it to the right, the point moves down. And for the demand curve, if we move it to the left, the point moves down, and if we move it to the right, the point of equilibrium moves up. By moving this point up or down, we can increase or decrease the stable prices for a product. Okay, with all that we have learned so far, We can now discuss how to move this point of equilibrium in our favor so that we can price at the highest price possible. Let's first start with the easy one, and that is to move the point of equilibrium by shifting the supply curve. If you want to increase the price for your product, then the easiest thing that you can do is to cut off the supply, which means that the supply curve moves to the left. And if the supply curve moves to the left, the point of equilibrium moves up, which now means that the stable prices have gone up. And since the stable prices have gone up, it means that you can charge more for that same product. And the reason this works is because of scarcity, which we will talk more about it later. The next way to move this point is by shifting the demand. By shifting the demand to the right or by increasing the demand, you can move this point up. But the main question is, how do you move the demand curve in your favor? There are four factors that affect demand, and they are bonuses, scarcity, urgency, and guarantees. Let's go through each of them in detail so that you get a better understanding on how you can use them to move demand in your favor. Let's say that you have a product, for example, a headphone which you are selling at the price of 10,000 rupees. And let's say that it does not have any kind of offer or bonuses whatsoever. From a customer point of view, I'd say that this product looks very bland and ugly, and I probably won't buy it even if I have the money to, since there are a lot of other headphones in the marketplace that are cheaper. Now let's say that you are selling the same headphone for the same price, but now you add bonuses to that product, like a free headset carrier bag, a free aux cable, a gift card, or anything that you can offer for free or that does not cost you much. What this does is that it makes the product look more appetizing to purchase, and it also makes people think that they're getting more than what they have paid for, which is like adding Indian seasoning to a really bland dish and making it look so delicious that people want to try it. And so by adding bonuses to a product, you basically increase the perceived value for that product because it makes people think that they're getting more than what they have paid for, which will also increase the demand for your product. The second way to increase demand is through scarcity. Scarcity is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to achieve ultimate pricing power. When you have a fixed supply or quantity of product that you're selling, it creates scarcity since there's a very limited supply of these products. And if you were to add a time limit, it creates more scarcity and fear of missing out, which makes the product more desirable since it may never be on sale again after it's sold out or after a certain time period. So what this basically means is that if you have a product that has average demand, you can use the psychological tactic of reducing the supply to increase the demand for the product by using scarcity, which will lead to people desiring it more and hence increasing the demand for that product. Let us take the toilet paper shortage during COVID as an example. Due to the lack of supply or the scarcity of toilet paper, people went on frenzy mode and bought as much toilet paper as they could, which means that companies that sell toilet paper could charge as much as they possibly can and it wouldn't have really affected their demand. And in fact, most companies did this and definitely they saw a huge increase in their profits. Another way of increasing the demand is through urgency, which is always bundled up with scarcity. Both urgency and scarcity work hand in hand together and, if used properly, can bring in amazing results. We have already talked about scarcity, which is basically a function of quantity. Now we'll talk about urgency, which is a function of time. So it basically relates to time. What urgency does is that it makes people drive their decisions faster by taking advantage of their fear of missing out. For example, if there's an offer or discount on a product and it's for a limited time only, say 5 days, you're going to see that you'll get more sales on the last day of the limited time offer than on the first day. And this is because of urgency. It is the urgency of buying the product before the limited time offer ends that drives people to buy it. Why? Because deadlines drive decisions. The last item on the list that can help us manipulate demand in our favor is guarantee. In today's day and age, most people don't even buy a product if it does not have a guarantee because they don't want to be on the end that has to take the most risk. And so, by understanding how to minimize this risk that they need to take when purchasing your product, and by implementing it so that whenever a customer buys a product from you, they don't risk losing their money when they don't like a product, makes it so much easier to close the sale and also increase the demand for that product. So, this is the reason why most big and small companies use guarantees to reduce the risk that the buyer needs to take when purchasing their products.